Hello, 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 and welcome. Today we have the most special guests that we've ever had. And I know I say this every time Emmanuel experienced this last time I went live, but it's true. It just becomes more and more true that every time we have one of these conversations, the people just become more and more aligned. Hello to everyone watching in the chat, to our Feminine Glow Girl community. Hi, Blake. How are you? I am so grateful. Thank you for being patient with us. It took us a couple minutes. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, but inshallah, everything will go smoothly during this conversation. Today, we're talking about multi-millionairess empires. We've been discussing building and serving schools globally. We've been discussing the mission to unlock 1 billion closed minds. And the people that I have here today with us are exceptional leadership examples of all of those things that I just listed off. So I'm grateful to be sharing space with each of you. And it's kind of interesting because when Kate and I first hopped on, we were just sort of talking about how seems like something maybe is in the air today. It just feels like there's a little bit of like, I don't know if either or if any of you have experienced this, but today I'm just sort of feeling that people are in sort of like a lack mindset energetically at the moment. And I think things oscillate. I don't know if it's a Monday, I don't know if it's because it's overcast where we are or what, but I
It's a
feel like that
dampness.
could be you said, yeah, it's like kind of damp out. The spirits are damp. Um, but yeah, I was wondering if we could just sort of have a little bit of a conversation around what lies beyond that and how to align with more of the abundance which is around us in a necessary way to be able to be an energetic match for something like having a multi-millionairess or multi-millionaire empire, for example. Anyone want to jump in on that?
I can, just to kind of give you a little bit of clarity about me, I can't say in this moment that I can access $1 million+ in this moment. However, I have touched more than $1 million probably within the last 2 to 3 years. So I just wanted to give that clarity. So I don't want to be on here, as the Gen Z say, capping. Um, but I can say that, and this is, an ongoing journey that I'm going on with some inner circles that I have with those of us who are, working to, you know, create more generational wealth for ourselves and our families and our communities. And I can definitely say around the thing remembering is that we inherited the earth. And I know that it feels like we didn't. It feels like everything and everybody is out to get us, and all they want to do is take what we have. But the reason why everybody wants to take what we have is because we have it all, and it doesn't feel like it, but at times. But we inherited the earth, and there are many different things that are utilized and mechanisms that are used to help try to make us forget that we inherited the earth. And when you think about wealth, and I know we're talking about a millionaire, but when you talk about just abundance and prosperity and living fully and freely, and we just take ourselves just away from the matrix when it comes to the US dollar or what we consider millionaires just for a second, and we understand that if you inherited the earth, there is nothing that exists that does not come from the earth.
Mhm.
Every single the chair that you're sitting in, the computer that you are streaming on, the house that you live in, the clothes that you wear, it all comes from the earth. And even if it came from animals, or something else, like, shear when they shear the wool off the sheep. um, the sheep comes from the earth.
Mm.
And when you understand it from that perspective, when you come back to the conversation about being a millionaire, you have to understand that when we walk in our true nature of being divine beings created by the creator of this planet, then you understand that we have a disconnect between the belief of the wealth that is inherently within us, and that or the inherent belief that we have, and the disconnect of what it is that we actually are expressing, if that makes sense. So I can express, like, I grew up in a very poor neighborhood, in Chicago. And in growing up in that very poor neighborhood, it was reinforced to me that we didn't have much, that we weren't worth much, and all of these other things. And we can get past that and understand that we were all created in the image of our Creator, and we all have access to this infinite wealth. Um, and we can talk about the nuances of that, later on. But just to know that, like, we are infinite beings with infinite possibility. And the fact that the four of us just on this podcast can literally come up with an idea and create $1 billion just from that idea means that all the wealth that we would ever need is always inside of us. And it's up
Mhm.
to us to embrace that internally, to be able to externally um, exercise the manifestation of being what some would call a millionaire.
I think that's a beautiful sentiment. Really beautiful and in alignment with the mission to unlock 1 billion closed minds. I think it's really powerful that you both have a background in funding, and you, Miss Yvonne and Emmanuel, both have a background in funding, and that this is Miss Yvonne's book. It's here and it's behind her.
Oh, that's amazing.
I hope that you're able to speak on that as well. I'm not sure if the connection's so good in this exact moment, but if you have anything to say about what Emmanuel just shared, Miss Yvonne, I would love to hear it.
I think she might still be having connection issues.
I think that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Yes. Hopefully, my connection keeps going in and out.
It's good.
I'll just keep going.
Hmm.
Um, Sphere of influence. About accumulating. This is wealth. When you talk about, you talk about the accumulation of wealth and what have you. And yes, we all have touched in short periods of time. See, that's the key. That's what really kind of closes the mind down, because it flees, and it doesn't stay. So you have to
Mm.
understand, what you need to do to keep income that you have, to keep that investment, keep that ongoing. That's why it's so important, where you see so much is out there and it's written and it's to you and it's taught to you about generational wealth. Because although
Hmm.
you may, in say your lifetime, your parents or your grandparents or your great grandparents may have amassed up a certain amount of wealth, even into the millions.
Hmm.
If that wealth is not down continuously, something is not set in place, that generational wealth, whether that's the wealth of education, the wealth of knowledge, wealth, of land, of money, businesses, what have you, is not, some type of mechanism put in place so that that is continuum, then it stops. In the next generation, they basically they don't benefit from it because the knowledge is on these things, but they lost it. It's an key if you want to unlock the minds, because we can unlock every single mind on this planet, but tells them, okay, this is the pathway forward, and this is what needs to happen in this generation, and then in the next generations. You say we'll just repeat the patterns, of the. It'll be wealth building for this generation, and then as the next generation comes into being, you're right back where you start from. You're right back at square one again.
That is so true. It did cut out a little bit, but I was able to hear you and make out most of it. And I do think Emmanuel also was able to. And that's exactly right. And that's one of the things that we teach in the Earth School curriculum through our partnership with Gravy Stack, which is also a parenting community called the Dinner Table. Gravy Stack is a financial literacy app game. It's a banking app game, the first ever banking app game on the market. And the Dinner Table is their community, which helps basically provide real resources to families in alignment with what you were just saying. So I completely resonate with that. And that's one of our wealth partnerships specifically focuses on. There's a book called The Entitlement Abolition. And I love that book. And one of the reasons why I love it is because it talks about passing down cash generation to generation. But cash stands for cognition, attitudes. These every single time I get a thumbs up there, it does have fireworks in the background, and it just makes me laugh. But cash stands for cognition, attitudes, skills, and habits. And so passing down cash from generation to generation is more than passing down cash from generation to generation, right?
Absolutely.
So that is so perfectly put, and I love that. And it's both on a symbolic level and a literal level. I mean, that's one of the things Emmanuel and I are working on with the nonprofit, with Art Heals Earth School, is building a container for being able to have a space for the entity to exist, to where we can pass all of the knowledge down. But having the knowledge is just one aspect of that. And so I think that that's beautiful. And the objective is to help as many people in that as possible. And you're right, Miss Yvonne, you can unlock a mind all you want. You can hand the book to somebody, but unless they read it and tangibly understand it and massage the material, and then apply it, they're not going to see the fruit of really anything. And that does take a whole paradigm shift within, and it takes a level of mentorship and guidance, I think, as well. Yeah. What about you, Kate? Do you have anything to say? Or go ahead, Emmanuel.
It takes a part of the person, of the receiver of that knowledge. It takes a commitment on part. You're at a time now where everything appears to be just readily available for us and readily given to us, but that doesn't mean that you don't have to do anything. You have to do more. Order it, or let's go to the mall and pick it up. You now have to do the same thing that your parents had to do, that your grandparents had to do, and that people will have to do going forward. You have to try it, test it. You have to make it your own. And if you don't do this, it's it basically has life. It's to make a cake, and I can set them on my counter. Well, as I put them together,
Yeah.
Right.
One thing that I was just thinking with you saying that you have to make it your own is that a lot of people try to do what's working for somebody else. Like they'll follow the steps, or they'll follow the path that isn't really meant for them.
Mm.
And if you're following that path, you're scared of failing um on something that you actually want to do. You're not making it your own, so you're not really going to be able to succeed in that way, because it's not really something that was meant for you. um so that's something that I think is just really important, to just stay true to yourself. And you have to be prepared to fail. You can't succeed at the first time, no matter what it is that you're trying to create that wealth, or just, yeah, whatever aspect that you're trying to develop in. You're not going to be perfect at the first try, and you have to be prepared to fail, and to actually embrace the fear that comes with failure, but also the lessons and the knowledge that comes from it as well.
I just wanted to piggyback on something Yvonne said, which I completely agree with. One of my mentors literally said, if you're trying to create what you consider, and he was, just talking to, some of the students, he was saying, if you're trying to create what you consider to be this generational wealth, which is what you can consider just a bunch of money, he was like, all you have to do is go get um, a large insurance policy or several life insurance policies, and when you die, your generations will have a
The death
million, two
benefits.
million, 3 million, however much insurance that you can reasonably get, and you can pass that along. But if you don't give them the tools,
Yeah.
like you were saying, to be able to handle that money, it one of the scriptures say a fool and his money are easily departed.
Mm.
And it doesn't matter how much money or cash, as you would say, is passed down. You have to, the real generational wealth is taking all of the lessons that you have and putting it into a manual or into a instructionary way to where your future generations can digest that information
Yeah.
and be able to build off of that and continue that legacy of passing that true knowledge and wisdom down to
Mm.
where whether they had the cash or not, they have the skills, the understanding, the knowledge, and the wisdom to be able to reproduce it as if it was never gone.
Mm. Mm. Absolutely. Value creation. That's such a key thing, to be able to go and in any environment and to be the solution. That's what creates you to be indispensable. I also love what Kate had just said too. And I'm just reflecting on the beginning of the book that you wrote, Miss Campbell, the Financing Your Next Billion. And there's a couple of things in this conversation that already like relate back to the beginning of the book. I haven't gotten through the whole thing yet, but from what I've read so far, there's a few different things that come up. Um, for one, and this is more in the context of venture capital, but when we're talking about wealth and acquiring finances, like this is definitely a key aspect. With what Kate was just saying about like forging her own path, or of anyone forging their own path, it makes me think of the part of the book where you talk about change methodology, and how a lot of the times people would question why a venture capitalist or a VC firm, whatever, or a collective of VCs would ever back certain ideas that are sort of like out there or different. And you gave the example in the book of the dot-com bubble, and how on a technical like paper, if you look at it on a sheet of paper, the ROI, the return on that investment, was like very unclear and highly risky, which is not abnormal for a VC to back something that's risky. It's kind of like part of the deal, but it was very like hard to actually track like what's going to be the return on this investment. Although everyone who was making those investments understood that this was a change methodology investment, that in making this, they would be shaping the future of everything from banking to communications to media to everything. Go ahead. Were you going to say something? I don't want to cut you off. No, I just wanted to create a gap if so. But
I know. I was just
absolutely,
going to agree that people tend to think, well, what a venture capitalist, they tend to lump the venture capitalists with probably the least understood as far as what we do, how we do it. And then at the same time, those who are in the financial industry, they know that we are the highest risk takers of and we are behind. If you didn't have venture capitalists, because we're that first in, and we're the first in out. That's the venture capitalist. So anything that's come, you can bet, you can pretty much believe a venture cap. Somebody, they want someone who may have said that the venture capital or not, but they were a venture capital. They put their money. Basically, what it is, you put your money into a venture. Somebody got an adventure and sail across this ocean that I can't see the other side because I think it's some land there, but I don't have a boat to sail on. No guarantee. There's no what's going to be my turn. You don't even know if they're going to make it. You don't even know if they're it's going to sell off into the horizon. You can't see them and they'll never come back. The types of money that it takes, that takes somebody who is a very high risk, type person to put their money very, very much so into the wealth build, because the only way we have that is not that us had to have put something in place that helped us to get to where we are, to amass up that kind of money, be able to then to someone else. So with venture capitalists, we want to see everything come into being, see everything take place. Well, we can't do it ourselves. That's the key of venture capitalists. We can't do it. Create, all these products, all these services. We really go, with all the skills, the mindset, the want, desire, to do something that we can put money into, and they can get it done. Just like I have a space fund, I put, at a high level, because I want to see us succeed. I want to see us go out into, to the moon, to Mars, out into deep space. So put monies into that. I see that return on that. We're going to places that by the time we get there, I physically won't be here, but my company, the legacy I leave behind, everybody, they will be here. So they will see it. Speak of a time whether this was possible because my great
Mhm.
great grandmother put, saw this foresight. Annual, my great uncle, he put this money on the table. And, we do have warp drive. We can, go, from stars. It only takes us 2 hours, to get billions of light years. It used to take us 100 years to get to.
Mm.
That's how things that somebody, futurist. We go to the edge of tomorrow, and we stand on that edge of tomorrow and to where we are today, and we find somebody just crazy as we are who can actually execute.
I
Yeah.
love it.
So
I love
really,
that.
so if you want to know venture capital, we look for people to got the money. We look for people to to execute on some of these crazy wild ideas.
That's beautiful. I would love to hear you
Wow.
talk a little bit too about, like, for example, how that relates to with the Lifesavers Ambassadors International Program. And for example, like what it is that is being done with Seeds of Hope in the Philippines, because you know that that's like a soft spot in my heart, especially right now, with the women that we're working with, how what you were just saying relates to that, and kind of explore on ways that we can, because in the conversation we had previously, Miss Gamble, we were talking about how it's so important to embark on things like global impact wise, like space exploration, and also it's so important to enrich the lives of those who are here on the planet right now, who are just looking for a bathroom or clean water or food. These are things that are basic needs that we need to also at the same time simultaneously solve for, before anyone's thinking about terraforming Mars, or at least have us be coming up with solutions for these things in conjunction with one another, adjacent to all of the efforts that are being put forth in either direction.
Well, the way in we are accomplishing these things are being accomplished, and that's through collaboration. Because what we realize, when you realize it's not just, or it takes the village, and the village is a global village in order to do things. As that, and you look out, maybe maybe you do it as humanity, the financial, what have you, but what you're actually looking at and doing is you're building those bridges. It's like, well, like I said, with the space program, I start there and then I'll address everything you said. With the space
Mm.
program, number of years now. So since back in the late 70s, 80s, we got it up there successfully and built it, and we expanded on it. And effort. So even irrespective of what was going on, believe it or not, and all, we were having fighting in the Middle East, all kind of stuff was still going on. We were still building the International Space Station. We were taking up, international air. We were um, doing joint projects and collaborative efforts back then, because none of what we in those programs, people may think that, that they may think, like the, certainly, as far as the we don't, as far as the knowledge and the technology based technology that you have that brings that about. Same thing when we look at water, which is water, basically water. When we begin to look at water as a human right, then we'll stop, turning off the pipe and keeping it from other people. Melting at the high rate in which they are, you're having to where the earth is being covered in a lot of our islands. We've lost, I think, islands. We've probably lost about 70 islands. Uh, and are losing more, year. And so you even seen histories of Australia and New Zealand welcome those people to their shores because you know, they had nowhere else to go. The island was sinking.
Yeah.
In a collaborative effort, and we have Google, which is doing a lot, and then a lot of Microsoft is doing a lot information into virtual database, and all their information about every person on will be all sent. They'll find another place for them to go on other mainland. That's going to happen more. These are collaborative going on right now, but all this business is happening, around us and what have you.
Yeah.
This zoo-like chaos that you're going to always have that. You're going to always have that, no matter what.
Mm.
It's always those ones on the playground that don't play well with anybody, have ability, and the lifestyles, of the whole, and, of the masses must go on. We must continue.
Yeah.
So we can't let ourselves be this. We just have to keep moving forward and keep doing what we do. So really, there, the key is the collaborative efforts that are out there. United and those are, several from all the other different countries.
Mm.
These entities work tirelessly every single day, 7 days a week. They work tirelessly, on these efforts for, humanity.
I think that's so beautiful. And there's a part in your book that I circled it, I highlighted it, and it really resonates with what you just said too. You wrote, globalization has leveled the playing fields across many industries, and venture capital is not immune to its effect. Competition is now too great for outlandish demands. Founders simply tell VCs with self-serving demands that there are better choices to meet their needs. And I think that relates so well to what you were just saying, because it's so true. Globalization has truly leveled the playing field in a lot of ways. When somebody acts in a way that is not in alignment with the principles of how a person or an entity, whether it's a nonprofit or a company, wants to operate, they can simply say, thank you, but no thank you. We know that we have other options that are going to align with us. This is an abundant world. I'm going to go and be with people who I feel are in alignment energetically with what it is we're looking for. And you showed your true colors. Good luck. Like moving on to the next, there is nothing like what globalization allows us to do in that way. It's a truly powerful thing, and it isn't limited to one uh, nation, state, or city, nation. Emmanuel, I could tell you were just like beaming when she was talking. Is there something that you want to jump in with?
Well, one, just from what Yvonne said before about venture capitalism and how, somebody has to dream up these great big ideas, and no one person can do it by themselves. It's not a one man island. And, and you didn't say this, but it's very difficult. And I would just, from my perspective, no one is actually really self made
Mm.
because it was always a community. There was so many pieces and so many people and so many situations and circumstances and even traumas that contributed to where people are and where people end up. And it's the it's all of those ingredients mixed together and then put in the fire
Mhm.
that creates what people call this accomplished or realized or self-actualized individual that people may be observing in their accomplishments.
Mm.
And it really just made me smile because for a long time, and this is just me, telling my personal story, I was around, people who could not understand why I thought so big.
Mm.
People in your environment, whether people are trying to douse that fire or ignite that fire or properly
Mhm.
direct the fire, it's so important to make sure that you are around people who are feeding you the nutrients that you need to actually grow in the direction that you are capable of. And it was just beautiful to hear you say that, when you were talking about venture capitalism, because um, when you are, in those smaller neighborhoods and, you want to do something global, and, and no, and this is no shade to anyone, but the person who doesn't see themselves going beyond, working for that 9 to 5 is not necessarily going to be the person who's going to fuel that fire for you to be able to impact, 1 million plus people.
Mhm.
And it's beautiful to just be able to hear, someone really talk about that. And, it just really hits me to say, hey, your environment is so, 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 so important. Your circle, who are
Mhm.
you around? Where are they headed? How do they believe in themselves? That will say a lot about how they will believe in you to be able to put yourself in a position to where you can actually um, express what it is that you know that's inside of you.
Mm. That's so powerful. And it kind of goes back to what we were saying about mentorship. I would be curious to know how in your journey, Miss Yvonne, has mentorship been a role that's helped guide you? I'm not sure if you got the question, but I
As
had
far
asked how. Go ahead.
you said, how does mentorship?
Just wondering how mentorship has played a role in your professional journey.
Oh, that's um, mentorship is that's the first when you come in through the banking and $1 million banking industry, and the first that is the first thing you do is to get a mentor, and you don't they don't even because you're going to apprentice. That's the given counts, and you go out there and you do what you need to do. Read this book and read this manual, and you go do your job. No, you got a mentor. You got a trainer. You have classes that you have to go to, and traders, and you're going to understand the whole commerce cycle. By the time literally 3 years later, I finished my education training. You know, I think I knew more about commerce than I ever wanted to know. So, but I understand that no matter what, world moving, and that's what you begin to understand. It doesn't matter. Life has to go on. It's just like the sun doesn't stop shining because we down here okay. The wind don't stop blowing because we can't get it together. The air don't not stop circulating around this planet because we can't get it together. Does you look around you? Have you seen trees not come back and leaves not come back? Have you seen grass not grow? We didn't plant none of this. We didn't plant these trees. We did not spawn this with all these different faunas here, with all the different animals. Do you see them leaving because we acting crazy, because we don't like each other for this or that? If you tall, I'm short. You light, I'm they up in arms because you can't get along with each other. No, they still out there supposed to do. Even the cats and dogs don't involved in this craziness. Okay, so when you think about it like that, because then every area needs a mentor. I still have mentors. Some of my mentors are gone. They're my mentors. So before I met him, 20 years before I met this man, he was my mentor. He didn't even know I existed. I knew he. Okay, that's a mentor. You see what I'm saying? So these are the types of things that like come out here. Oh yes, I did this. This was all me. Nobody else but me. I didn't even get to this. I didn't even get to this world by myself. It was my mother and father. Had not been for them, I wouldn't be here.
And they didn't do it alone either, did they? They did it together.
I want him to come and tell me they got here on their own. They just, and nobody else had nothing. Even, I'm a believer. I'm a strong believer. I'm a Christian woman. But even Jesus Christ himself did not get here by himself. Mm-hmm. Oh, well. Take that to the bank and deposit it.
Mm-hmm.
Had a mama and a dad. They just like everybody else. Mm-hmm. And that's how I get Father which is in heaven, and I can do this all. Do this. I don't care what the song say. You cannot do this by yourself.
Mm-hmm. And good luck to you if you think you can, truly. Because it does come down to relationships. It truly does. And you're right, mentorship really is everything. Mm-hmm. And it's beautiful to know that you just had people you looked up to early on in your journey who, like you said, didn't even know you existed, but served in that way, and that you got to actually meet some of them later in life and maybe others not. But that's a really powerful thing. And it makes me think of all of these children across the world. This is where my heart has been, and this is what I'm here to, one of the many purposes that I have, but one of the things I know I'm for certain here to do is to enrich the lives of the children across the planet. and to do this through holistic health and wealth education, and to create systems that sort of defy all of the things that have come before, while also building up on those things simultaneously. Um, and it makes me think of how, for a lot of these children that are suffering in areas that are more war torn, or that are, indigenous communities, indigent communities as well. Um, Solutions around how we can empower those individuals despite their circumstances to actually build sustainably is kind of like the only thing I've been focusing on. It's like the only thing I've allowed to have my attention. And when there's that level of focus, um, it's a really empowered space to be in. And I noticed that the more it creates an attraction for individuals like both of you, who are equally dedicated to having those kinds of enrichment principles brought to life. And so I guess my question, and this might be our last question before we kind of wrap up the conversation, would be, what's our best next step with one another to see these things become actionable and not just conversation? As much as the conversation is beautiful, and I do think that is part of the building, what's our next best action item that we can collaborate on to see these things brought to life?
Well, I guess I can jump in. I really feel like Yvonne uh, uh, really kind of answered this question earlier in our conversation, which is, and you even said it, the answer, it's literally to collaborate. It's to come together. It's to put our minds together and see that everybody, when operating in their authentic nature, has something to contribute.
Yeah.
And everybody, when you put the right people together with the right mindset and you all have the same goal, it becomes, and we're able to remove the egos out the way to say, hey, this is our mission. This is our purpose. This is our target. This is, the impact that we want to have. This is the message. And this is the impact, and when you do all of those things and you make that very clear, the collaboration and the synergy that comes from that can be magical,
Yeah.
And so, because there's so much that so many of us have within us that we can contribute, whether that's a monetary contribution, whether that's ideas, whether that's implementation, whether that's organization, whether that's networking. There's so many different ways that we can uh, bring things together to where um, the sum of the parts is uh, is much different than the culmination of coming together that creates a product that is something that you probably couldn't even fathom beforehand.
Mm-hmm. That's powerful. It really is. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, I would say that really collaboration. Collaboration is key in helping and reaching out who are already on the ground in some of these places, and think of it just simply in how can I make these, how can help, say, underprivileged or disadvantaged, what have you, like me, or be like my society.
Mm,
Let's help in the societies that they are in,
exactly.
because
Absolutely.
Exactly.
then that's one of the things that Emmanuel said. You make people feel bad because you make them feel like, well, because your you're not you're not like my society. Well, society is
Absolutely.
not their side. Your way is are in with what they're doing. Where they, and then if at some point in time they would like to say, come and be a part of your society, then you can help them to do that. But in the meantime,
Absolutely.
start with working directly with organizations that
That's beautiful, and it's so true, and, it's the perfect example, actually, and I'll let this be the closing, thought, but, in our conversation, Miss Yvonne, we were talking about the school in the Philippines, and we were asking the women in the community of questions around, "Why are we walking all this distance to this school? Is there a place that's closer that we can have the children that they can be, meeting for school and what are some solutions in the physical area?" And so we're having this back and forth dialogue about coming up with solutions to that. And there was a moment where Mia, who wanted to be here so bad, but it's just literally like she's running on steam and it's like practically 5 o'clock for her. So right now, and she's been up all night. So she said she would love to speak with you separately, both and all of us. So just like know that her sentiment is here. And I've been building with her very closely around this school, and she's started to ask me, well, should we should it be here? Would it be a good idea to build it like this? And I told her, there's no way for me to answer that question. In fact, if I tried to answer that question, you should probably be skeptical of me because I am not in the community. I don't know. And I could come up with ideas. Like I was able to, and that's what I told her. I said, the thing that I can contribute here is to ask questions that would get us sort of thinking around solutions that the people within the community can come together to solve for the community. It's not going to be me coming in and saying, hey, this is how we're going to do things. It just doesn't work that way.
right.
So it's interesting because even though and we've been having this conversation constantly, it is learned helplessness. It is oftentimes that we're not only conditioned to insert ourselves as a colonizer mindset saying, oh, yes, I have all of the answers, but it's also common to see people who might be disadvantaged to look to you to have solutions and just say, oh, you're here to help us because we're helpless. I'm here to say, no, I'm here to point out to you, you're very helpful. You might think you're helpless, but I don't believe that there's such a thing as that. And that's just been the thing I keep reaffirming. And I keep hearing it from all of those women. We're helping the helpless. No, we are not. There is no such thing here. I don't see a single helpless person here. I see a person who is having a paradigm shift that I get to have the honor of helping usher to fruition. Like I've been gifted the ability to learn my helpfulness, my own self, and now I'm paying it forward because I used to be in a place of learned helplessness as well. And another example of that would be in that conversation, I was saying, okay, here's a video I saw of this farm girl in China that I love watching, and she built this physical shelter from bamboo. Do we have a similar kind of bamboo in the Philippines? And she said, yeah, actually we do. And then she starts pulling up all these pictures and she says, oh, actually it would sort of look more like this. So then we started looking at the photos of that and she says, oh, the dads can help build it. Right. And then I'm like, oh, we could have an art design competition. And that's sort of where we're at with it, was having a competition where everyone can design what is the best school on earth. What does the best school on earth look like? And anyone can design what that looks like, and everyone gets a vote, but the kids get 2 votes. So the kids get a better say, and the balloons. Oh my gosh. So the kids have more of a weight in their governance of voting what the actual school would look like, and then we can come together to actually build it and see it to fruition. Now, of course, there's a lot more that needs to be done around that, to have supplies to be able to. I really want to collaborate with the Seeds We Grow Philippines organization. So maybe that could be a really good next action item, is to discuss more of that, because being able to build a school or a series of schools within the area that also have farmlands that create nutrition. Not only can we build the physical space for and by the people in that community, but then we're creating nutritious solutions for them in their own space. They're not relying on a freight shipment. They're not relying on the supply chain. They are able to utilize the literal fertile soil that their feet are standing on, but would have a collaboration with someone who could bring the seedlings, which are very pricey and expensive for them. That's what I'd like to see brought to fruition. And then also to be able to
Now, if you break that down,
Mhm.
when you break that down to just that little piece that you have just outlined there, the challenge, the vote, the building, the food, creating the food, planting the seeds in the ground, harvesting it. Look how many lessons that you've just taught a whole school year. You taught probably a whole 2 or 3 years to the students. You taught them about politics, about the challenge. You taught them about arts. You taught them about working together. You're talking about collaboration. You taught them about art, about culinary, about sales, about marketing. You probably hit them in mathematics, science. You have hit them at 10 levels. That right there, that's what we do when we do STEM training: science, technology, engineering, mathematics. It's done. You're talking about construction. They're going to learn about architect. They're going to learn about land usage. What land is good to build on? What land is not good to build on? What soil is built in? What's not? They can take and make with what they concrete out of that soil that they have there. Mud packs, dry. They can have dry concrete, have wet. What really we should just get rid on across the world, because there is no such thing as helplessness.
Exactly.
You wake up in the morning, you are not helpless. You think about some of the conditions because these quote poor countries live in that can pick up a child. Okay, you live through that. You ain't helpless. I want to see. Show me one person here in the United States, live in a city that can outrun. They can barely run to get the bus. Okay, so let's get off of so helpless. So I don't have it. Okay.
Exactly.
Whether that roof was a house, an apartment, a tenement slum, hall, under Vita, but you had something was over your head, and hopefully a tree was covering you, and that tree was not filled with some type of army ants. You weren't living in those conditions. Let's let's stop that. No, you're not the great. We're not the great savior running in, putting in all stuff. No, that ain't us. Okay, we just some people, ideas, and a fistful and a few dollars that we can help, and we know people. We know some more people that we can go and get, and they gonna help. We're gonna all help you.
Exactly.
We will all build this together. In the story, and
I love
I'm just straight. I'm sorry. I'm whiskey no chaser.
I love it. I
no,
love
I
it.
love that.
I love it. One thing I can just piggyback off of that is to say there is no helplessness. And in all honesty, there really is no scarcity either.
No.
Our planet is so abundant. Our ideas, what it is that's within us, is so abundant. Scarcity is literally an illusion, and it's something that we buy into. You know, even if they're like, let's say there's a food shortage. There's there's really only a food shortage to people who are only looking inside grocery stores.
Mm.
Now, really, just think about that for a second. How much food does farmers throw away? How much food? No, just when you really think about the whole thing is all, it's an illusion if you buy into it. The same
Yeah.
way somebody can buy in, I have a disability,
Mm-hmm.
I have a this and that.
Yes, I am this
But
person. I am that. And
exactly, it all comes down to, and I
Mm-hmm.
gave the last podcast I gave the example of a man who got beat up and was sent to the hospital.
right.
And then when you really thought about the man who got beat up and sent to the hospital, and you would immediately think about him being a victim until I told you it was in a boxing ring. And then when you
You realize he
understand that he
signed
was in a
up.
boxing ring, he wasn't a victim.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It's all perception.
Yeah,
I would like to give
That's
you both
exactly what.
absolutely.
I would like to give you both the option. I have a meeting with the art supplies provider, the wholesaler, just now. And so I'm going to jump off. But if you two want to continue this conversation, I would be happy to allow you to just hold the space. Or if you would like to sign off now collectively, that's fine too.
Well,
Which do you prefer?
yeah,
Yeah,
I have
I
something.
kind
I
of
need to
figured because
talk
it
to you
has been
too.
over an hour now.
So
All right. Well, I appreciate the
Yeah,
conversation so much. I definitely want to follow up with
right.
you, Miss Yvonne, and Emmanuel as well. All right, that sounds good. I appreciate you both. Let's definitely keep this conversation going at another time when we're not all
Thank
having,
you so much.
all right. Have a beautiful day. Thank you all.
all
Appreciate
right, take
you.
care.
One of many masterminds that we have had and that are to come. Thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate you. If you have any questions about what we're
Thank
doing,
you.
you know how to contact us. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.